Oh, okay. Chapter 24. Now, I'm doing this a bit on the hop tonight, so I haven't actually read ahead to see where Spoon's bits are, so please forgive me if my Scottish accent is not too grand tonight, because I haven't been ahead and checked. But I will try my best, okay? Alright, so we've got to this place where they have to go and buy different things so that they can park the house there, do you remember? And then they've realised that a feeder is there as well, so they've got to be super careful, but they need to go and buy things, but they need to be wary where a feeder is. Nine's also got an ulterior motive. She wants to go find who the secret master is, because she wants to find out what this secret was that her mum had under the bed. So it takes us to chapter 4. He pointed his long fingernail towards a shop that was bulbous in shape, with two side extensions like the twisted corners of a sweet wrapper. The building was garishly painted with wide stripes of blue, red, brown, green and orange. It looked like someone was still deciding which colour it should be, or what flavour. There was a little skip in the troll's steps as he clapped his huge bark-like hands together and headed for the round shop door in the middle. "How do we get in? There's no door handle," said Nine. She went to peer through the tiny sweet-shaped window in the door. Suddenly, an O-shaped mouth opened up in the middle of the door and sucked them inside, with a noisy slurping sound. Nine had barely regained her balance as the door mouth closed back up behind them and made a satisfied mmm. Nine's eyes widened as she looked around. Every spare inch of every wall was lined with shelves of tall jars packed full of sweets of every colour and shape. A blue and white striped counter stood in front of one of the walls, packed with more jars of sweets, and behind it stood a bald, older wizard in a blue robe, with a silvery beard so bushy it was twice as wide as his face. Again, lovely imagery. If you're drawing, how colourful is that picture? Can you imagine? Shelves and shelves of jars of sweets with a blue and white striped counter, and behind is a silvery, beardy, bushy beardy guy, and his beard is wider than his face. Nice, I like it. Customers, welcome friends," said the wizard, dashing out from behind the counter more quickly than was strictly necessary, his robe flapping around him. "Aniseed, the regretfully toothless, at your service." He thrust a pink and white striped paper bag into Nine's hands and another into Eric's. See, I remember that from my sweet shopping days. Always used to get paper bags. I don't think you get them anymore. Nine froze awkwardly as the wizard darted around them, peering over their shoulders, then rushing in front of them and staring at their eyes. Eric just stood there grinning, his hands clasping his sweet bag happily. Let me think. The perfect sweet for you." The wizard examined Eric thoughtfully, then closed his bright blue eyes and frowned in concentration with his fingertips up to his temples. Eric jiggled on the spot, his wide eyes glancing hopefully at the jar of brown and white stripy sweets on a high-up shelf. Is he trying to read your mind?" Nine said to the troll, feeling her shoulders tense. Can he actually do that?" One of the wizard's eyes peeped open a crack and followed Eric's gaze. Then both of his eyes flew open. Of course, I've just the one." He twisted his wrist, and there was a crackle of pale blue lightning from his fingers. Nine jumped as the lid went spinning off the jar of brown and white stripy sweets. Another wrist twist, and a torrent of sweets flew out of the jar, arching down towards the paper bag in Eric's grasp. Nine eyed the wizard suspiciously, but the troll gave a squeak of joy. Best sweet! Eric, love." "Of course you do, my friend, of course. Have more! Aniseed, the regretfully toothless, grabbed another stripy bag from the counter. Eric nodded excitedly, but Nine moved slightly in front of him. "We have other shops to visit, thank you very much," she said sharply. Of course, said the wizard, still flashing his too white to be real teeth, although Nine's sharp pickpocket sight noticed how his left eye narrowed and twitched very slightly. "And what shall you have, I wonder?" Let me think. The wizard and his beard swept directly in front of Nine. his blue eyes staring deeply into Nine's brown ones. No, you're not reading my mind, she said firmly, staring back at the wizard. The wizard screwed his eyes shut, frowned in concentration, and put his fingertips up to his temples. Let me think. The perfect sweet. Just in case Annecy the regretfully toothless really was reading her mind, Nine glanced at every jar she could see. They all looked wonderful, and they all looked exciting. She wanted all of them, and this made her feel quite smug. She looked back at the wizard just in time to see a peeking eye slam shut, then both eyes fly open. Everything for you? Nine rolled her eyes. There were twists of the wrists, crackles of blue lightning, and then rainbow streams of sweets arched down from all of the jars, fighting and shoving their way into the pink and white bag that she held in her hand. Lady Lucky, said Eric next to her, still grinning. The last few sweets tussled their way into Nine's bag. Nine jumped as another crackle made the top of her bag twist at the corners and roll itself down safely sealed. The rainbow streams of sweets sped back to their jars, and all the lids quickly twisted back on. There was silence and stillness in the shop, except for the wizard, who rubbed his hands together. Come, my friends, he said joyfully. That will be 2 yonders each. Nine glared at Annecy the regretfully toothless suspiciously. She opened her satchel. She put in the bag of sweets and fumbled around for the little purse Flabbergast had given to her. As she did, her fingertips brushed her precious music box and something else. Something soft. She frowned for a second, then remembered. It was the little velvet pouch she had pickpocketed from another witch when they had been to the hopscotch championship. Her fingers closed around it briefly. The miniature sapphire skull that had once been inside it had been lost at the championship, but the little pouch still held a tiny bottle with blue smoke swirling inside and a couple of coins. Thank you, the wizard chortled as Eric handed over his coins, breaking Nine's thoughts. Nine pulled out the purse, took out 2 dark brown yonders and dropped them into the wizard's hand. Thank you, enjoy your sweets. Eric will, love sweets. The troll grinned as he trundled towards the door. Wait, we need to ask about Dish, Nine whispered to him, then turned to look at the wizard warily. Before we go, I have a question. We're looking for a dish. The wizard's jovial expression dropped suddenly. His face darkened as he stared at Nine. I've not seen her. I've not heard of her, he said in a low voice, and if I had, I would not speak of it. Ophelia, the unpredictable, is not a foe I would choose. Nine felt prickles of unease run up and down her back. I didn't mention Ophelia the unpredictable. You do know of Professor Dish. Where is she? There was a flash of panic in Aniseed's eyes. Come again soon, friends, said the wizard in an overly loud and merry voice. He put one hand on the counter and leapt over it, his beard swishing widely. He pushed urgently at Nine's back, staring her to the round door which Eric now held open. He bundled them both through, flashing them out one last glittering smile. You are most welcome anytime. And he slammed the door in their faces and flipped the door sign to closed as its slatted wooden blind unrolled swiftly down the window. Eric's happy face fell, and he looked at Nine with worried yellow eyes. Trouble? He said in a wobbly voice. He pulled out a sweet and pushed it into Nine's hands. Trouble, Nine said to him. I don't think finding Dish is going to be easy as we thought, but we must find her before Ophelia the Unpredictable does. Let's try the candle makers. Come on. And that will take us to chapter 5. And we'll see if they bump into Ophelia.